Good afternoon again. So we have been blessed, literally. We have been blessed musically. And now we're at the part that takes us to the next piece of our journey, which is to get more toward the competition. And so my job as MC, and I feel like I've already failed one piece, and that's to keep us on time. But I'm starting from when we started, so I'm gonna try and keep us on time from that point forward. So let me begin by saying again, great afternoon to everyone. Thank you for being here. It's a sunny 70-degree day in New England, and I know there's other places we could be, but you are here, these young men are here, and we are thankful because of that. My name is Jeff Johnson, and I am honored. I'm excited. For me, I wouldn't be anywhere else today, not even on the golf course, because today is a glorious day to come, and we're gonna put focus on, we're going to listen to, we're going to learn from, we're going to experience the message that these young men are bringing forward. Springfield, Massachusetts is where I grew up. It's where my parents, Clayton and Roberta Johnson, still live. It's where I got my bachelor's in mathematics from Western New England University, became a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and began my professional career as an actuary. And it's also where I married my lovely wife, Adrienne, 36 years ago. So I've got roots in Springfield, and though I moved away for various reasons, I never forgot the place I call home. So I tell you that so you know who I am. I tell you that with the hope that we can get more comfortable. We're gonna be here for a while, and we've got some important work to do. So now I have the honor of going about the process to introduce our first speaker. And let me just say before anyone comes to the podium after me, my speech is not being scored. That's a good thing. But for everyone that's going to come again, I cannot impress upon you the commitment that they made to be here. There were workshops. They had mentors. They had to prepare an original speech. And on the theme of how I see myself and how the world sees me, I can't wait to hear what they have to say. But to me, they're all winners before they even get here. But without any drum roll, let me move forward. And when I announce the first speaker, I will introduce him, and then he'll walk up to the podium. And just a reminder, when he starts to speak, his time on the clock will start. So the first speaker today will be Jerry Moore III. His parents are Dina and Jerry Moore Jr. He attends Hampden Charter School of Science, where he is a senior. Jerry is also able to happily say that he's already been accepted to the University of Massachusetts and New York University. He is still awaiting to hear from Howard University, so he's got one more iron in the fire that he's hoping to hear from. He hopes to major in English, and he enjoys football, reading, basketball, singing, and his mentor was Brother Vincent Jackson. So without any further ado, Jerry, please approach the podium.
Depending on who's judging me, I already have a strike against me due to the color of my skin. My racial community is often overlooked, underfunded, and underprivileged. By the time I'm 18, society expects me to either be incarcerated or dead. Can you guess who I am? Being a young African American and Puerto Rican male, I've spent the last 17 years of my life with a target on my back. As I've grown older, I've increasingly become aware of and burdened by the weight of that target. The overwhelming message conveyed by media outlets today is that young men who look like me are deranged and dangerous and should be feared at all costs. Because of this racial setback, the young leaders of my racial communities must work twice as hard to make sure that despite the odds, our achievements shine. The way the world views us and the way we view ourselves are vastly different And it is our job as a young men of color today to rewrite the narrative and to be the generation of change makers and stereotype eliminators. When the world looks at us, we want them to see potential rather than a prison sentence. However, it has become increasingly clear that the road to erasing the negative stereotypes associated with young men and people of color is one that is filled with roadblocks. One major issue lies in the lack of opportunities that we are afforded. Although strides have been made to increase the diversity in workplaces, colleges and universities, and other positions of power, enough just isn't being done. The American Bar Association details it best in their 2017 article titled, "Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance." In their article, the association comments on how during job searches, white hirers viewing diverse applications view them as an unfortunate obligation, and that diversity is simply the right thing to do. Then, after rounds of applications and interviews, and with another white person being hired, what is their excuse? We couldn't find any qualified diverse applicants. What does that really mean? We couldn't find black people who met our standards. However, this only happens because the process through which they are looking for applicants is flawed. According to the association, they have limited their search to the places they know and trust, and are unaware of the vibrant and diverse networks existing outside of their experience. It is impossible to achieve the mission and diversity if white hirers don't explore new avenues of employment and search in new places for diverse applicants. But in all honesty, can you blame white hirers for not looking into new neighborhoods and communities for people of color to entrust with their businesses, to attend their schools, or to be responsible for the money that they make? After all, the way that media portrays us would turn anyone away. In 2017, the Washington Post released an article detailing the appalling rates at which black people and colored people are being shown to the world. According to the Post, blacks represent 37% of criminals shown in the news, but constitute 26% of those being arrested on criminal charges. In contrast, news media portrays whites as criminals only 28% of the time, when FBI crime rates show that they make up 77% of crime suspects. Based on these numbers, what community would you want to hire from? The black communities, consisting of the 10 criminals you saw on TV in the past week? Or the white communities, consisting of the one criminal who you saw on TV that committed a petty crime? The answer is obvious, and there is a drastic change needed in the way that we are portrayed if the world is ever going to be able to understand our worth. However, complaining about the white man's unfair control over our community's lives has never solved anything. The way in which the world sees young men and people of color, and therefore me, is desolate. However, it is my job every single day to work to prove the doubters and the naysayers wrong. I come from a long line of individuals who knew that giving up is never an option, and that resolve has been instilled inside of me since I was born. I know that by being a role model for my peers, exhibiting good character, and being all that I can be in everything that I do, the world's perception of me will improve. So, who am I? I'm a young man whose dreams and aspirations cannot be defined by society's expectations. I'm a positive and valued member of the world, whose future is bright and whose possibilities are endless. I am an anomaly, an exception, a young man whose potential is so outside of the quotidian that my only option is success. And oh yeah, I'm black too. Thank you.
Jerry, that was amazing. Don't you all think that was amazing? So for those that aren't familiar with the process, Jerry's just spoken. The judges are giving their marks, their scores. Those scores have to be collected and brought back to our computer so they can be entered in and ultimately compared to the others. So I'll have some remarks while that goes on to fill the gap before we introduce our next speaker. So right now I'm going to talk a little bit more about Alpha Phi Alpha, the fraternity. So I have been in this fraternity for 37 years, and for those that remember my opening remarks, that means I've been in this fraternity longer than I've been married to my wife. So that's a long time. So why would I do that? Why would I continue to be part of and associate myself with a fraternity long after the college days have passed? Well, it's because Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated develops leaders. It promotes brotherhood and academic excellence while providing service and advocacy for our communities. And again, both during the college years, but more importantly, long after those years have passed us by. It was the first collegiate fraternity for African American men, and I emphasize that because it was founded in December 4th, 1906, at a time when we couldn't get into the fraternities that were already there. So these 7 young college men, which we affectionately refer to as our jewels, created something new and different and, yes, unique for them on the campus of Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. The names of these 7 men are Henry Arthur Callis, Charles Henry Chapman, Eugene Kinkle Jones, George Biddle Kelly, Nathaniel Allison Murray, Robert Harold Ogle, and Vertner Woodson Tandy. Over 200,000 men have been initiated into Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated since its founding in 1906. There are over 700 chapters located in academic institutions and also over 45 states, and they are located as well within the Bahamas, the District of Columbia, Germany, Korea, London, South Africa, West Africa, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The fraternity motto is, first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all, but the thrust and aims of the fraternity are manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. And I believe at this point, the judges, your scores are in? You still work? Okay, no. Let me just go on. So who do I love more, my fraternity or my wife? All right, now that's a loaded question, right? Of course, my wife. Of course, my wife. Well, yes. All right, okay. All right. Before I get in trouble, are you done? All right. Okay. All right. Are we going to slow down? Okay. I'll slow down, and let me just take a look. Is anyone still outstanding? All right, then I'm going to go back to my safe zone, and I will introduce our second speaker. And the second speaker will be Oliver Figuereo. Oliver, his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Oliver Figuereo, support him strongly and love him dearly. Oliver attends Springfield Renaissance School, where he is a freshman. He has aspirations right now to attend Western New England University, where he hopes to major in law. He enjoys dancing, video games, football, basketball, baseball, and church. His mentor is Kareem Newland. Please welcome Oliver as he approaches the podium.
One time, I was at a national conference. I was representing the children of EL education schools, and it was an amazing opportunity. I loved the chance, but I got there, and there was like something that threw me off. I was, me as a colored young man, with a group of representatives that built, created, funded, and the list goes on, of EL education, which is known to be very culturally sensitive, respectful, but it was full of Caucasians. I definitely do not have an issue with Caucasians at all. I love them. It's amazing. But me, as a colored young man, I wanted to see someone who represented me, the people like me, the people that are known to be loud, to be energetic, to be creative, but also known to be dropouts, to be the ghetto, to be failures, but merely another statistic. Throughout history, there has always been a barrier between the two cultures, and I just want to make that clear here today. History repeats itself endlessly for those who are unwilling to learn from the past. This is a message that our society yet has to grasp. From the beginning of time to even now, we have had the same continuous struggles, just different circumstances, and we continue to put it off. And it just doesn't faze me. Why? The dreadful topic that we need to talk about and that we put off because we don't want to make a racist remark simply amazes me, because we are the answer. We are what will make the difference. But see, that's the issue. Just the undermining occurring over and over again. But just take a second, just a simple second to think, what if there really was no cultural barrier? What if I did not see you or you or you or you any different than who am I? Superior, inferior, black, white, male, female, the list goes on, but that's simply all I can say. Visualize the accomplishments, what we could create as a society together. But why haven't we gotten there is the true question. But once again, we are the answer. Over time, as a person of color, I've come to realize that we value the wrong things. This all ties back to my point of slavery. Since the very beginning, it has continually affected us with having everything we once did not have. We, as humans, have a tend to greed because we just want and want and want. And that is what caused us to be what we are today. But the fact that we want so much of it, we have put overvalue in it. So in future generations, we continue with this without putting a stop. Overall, in our day and age, we begin to value the wrong things from the very beginning of time. Whether it be getting the next haircut, the latest Jordans, the new AirPods, the iPhone X, which is great camera quality, but it's the same thing. Who cares? We're all the same people. We all have our own stories and want one thing, and that's to be someone who matters. And I believe that everyone is. But we put ourselves in our mindset that if we're not that, what social media portrays us to be, what's the next thing to come, then we're useless. If you look at it, that's what we have manifested into today. I'm a strong believer in what you reap is what you sow. And so society today, ladies and gentlemen, is what we have sowed. If you don't have, if you're not good at what seems to be important to the people your age, then why are you here? Why do you matter? Well, I'm gonna tell you why you matter. Because you and you and you have as much power as I do. I have as much power as you guys do. So let's make a change. Let's see. With this value of materialistic things comes prejudices placed upon us that whether it's involved with drugs, extreme debt, or a lack of self-control, or another dropout statistic that we have been given as a culture. As a statistic, I am portrayed to be many of these prejudices and stereotypes that not have only affected me as a person, but made me believe them as well. It taught me wrong lessons and has given me ideas that should not be thought of at such a young age, when I was much more naive. And so we are known to the thought of black fathers leaving. But I'm proud to say that I have a father who is colored exactly like me. We look identical if you see him somewhere in the crowd, but I'll show you guys later. But we look identical. And he has supported me and created me into the man that I am today. He has taught me the morals that I have and everything that I have become. I want to thank you. But I also want to bring out someone else very special to me, and that is my mother. Not only have I had a mother that is all of those statistics that I have named, she was a dropout. She had me when she was 17. She lived with my father more than she had lived with her own family. And, but let me tell you something. That same woman today is one on her several degrees who has a 4.1 GPA. And as we speak, with a job and part of a wonderful church, but most importantly, my mother. Now, I'm not saying that I have the most perfect situation, but I do want to say, as a colored man, I have become something that I am proud to be, and we can all do the same. I choose to beat the odds, to be the breaking statistic that no one thought I would become. My name is Oliver Figuereo. I am proud to be a colored young man. And this show, I wish the world would see me the way I see myself. But before I go, I need you guys to understand that as a colored man, I am not our future. I am our now.
Thank you, Oliver, showing us what a freshman can do and a lot more of it. So thank you again. Thank you. So once again, the judges are tallying their scores. I will say that we're going to have one more speaker out of the 6, and then we're going to have a musical interlude. So don't be alarmed if after the third there's music that makes it sound like it's over, because it's not. It's not. Not yet. So while they are tallying their scores, let me tell you a little bit more about Senator Edward W. Brooke, our dear brother in Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, who has passed on to our Omega chapter, because not all of you may know something about this great man who was a part of American history and African American history as well. His election to the U.S. Senate in 1966 ended an 85-year absence of African American senators. Did you know he was the first popularly elected senator and the first black politician from Massachusetts to serve in the Congress? Did you also know that he attended Howard University and Boston University School of Law? Did you know he was fluent in Italian? Did you know he was the first African American to serve as a state attorney general in the United States and also in Massachusetts? He promised to use his position to unite men, quote, who have not been united before, unquote, reiterating his pledge to represent his constituents equally regardless of race. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2004, and he was named Chairman Emeritus of the Alpha Phi Alpha World Policy Council in 2004 as well. He was the first African American to have a state courthouse named in his honor. And he received the Congressional Gold Medal from Barack Obama in 2009. Yes, our brother, Edward W. Brooke III, who was born in 1919 and passed in 2015, was a man that left his footprint. And this contest is named after him because we want these young men, as well as other young men who have come before them, to leave their footprint on our community and in our lives. I will ask this question. I don't know, is there anyone in this room who can remember, other than seeing it on YouTube, video, whatever your electronic preference is, Senator Edward W. Brooke? Has anyone in this room ever met him? Did I see a hand? Is that my mother? You met the senator? Okay, all right. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, and up front, so 2 people in this whole room can say, I met this great man, which is why part of his legacy is this oratorical contest. So let me check before I go out of my safe zone. Are you done scoring? Oh, this worked out great. Okay, I'm out of my filler, and I'm going to the next speaker again, who will be our last speaker before we break for a musical interlude. So our next speaker is Djongo-Alan Tchatchouang. His mother is Claudine Tchatchouang. He attends the Springfield Commonwealth Academy, where he is a senior. He is still deciding on his college choice, but he plans to major in physics. His hobbies, and the one he enjoys the most, basketball. And his mentor is Jeffrey Johnson. Please join me in welcoming Djongo-Alan to the stage.
Good afternoon. How I see myself and how the world sees me. A West African proverb once said, la vraie richesse, c'est de percevoir dans la profondeur de son intérieur. I say it again in case you missed it. True richness is perceiving in the deepness of ourselves. I see myself as a messenger, a man who committed himself to act outwardly on what he saw inwardly. I see myself as a lone wolf who at age 16 decided to leave his people and community to serve his purpose. A man who was sent to a foreign land with the mission of rescuing himself and the rest of his people. I see myself as a dreamer who believes that the only limits of human achievements are self-imposed. A man who is fully aware of his capability to rewrite the beliefs of our world and create new possibilities for the future. I see myself as a fighter whose perception of hard times and negativity is his best strength. I see myself as a visionary who was given the mission of making a difference in our world. I see myself as a bold missioner who was chosen many times to take the uncertain road to chase his dream. A man who was endlessly refused to allow normality and commonness hinder his inner vision. When I left my family for the first time in 2016, it was without a doubt the most painful and amazing thing that's ever happened to me. Because at that moment, when I was walking away from them to take my flight, all the aspirations and dreams that I had about coming here became commitments and obligations to pay back what they sacrificed for me. An American philosopher, Henry David Thoreau, once said, "It is not what you look at that matters, it is what you see." When the world looks at me, it sees a tall, young African-American man. When the world sees Alan, it sees a tall, young French black man. When the world sees Alan, when the world looks at me, it sees a black man who must play basketball. When the world sees Alan, it sees a committed basketball player. When the world looks at me, it sees a black man who must be comical and easily distracted. When the world sees Alan, it sees a black man who is disturbingly obsessed about his work and probably needs to enjoy life sometimes. When the world looks at me, it sees a black man who must be a woman or money chaser. When the world sees Alan, it sees a dream chaser. A French modern poet once said, "Le monde est constitué d'éléments invisibles et subtils que nous pouvons seulement observer avec une perception adéquate." I'll say it one more time. The world is composed of invisible and subtle elements, which can only be observed with the appropriate perception. One's perception is based upon a set of beliefs. And so I hope that today I was able to enrich your beliefs. My name is Djongo-Alan Tchatchouang, and this was my message. Thank you.
What I want to do now is set the stage to bring forth our fourth speaker. Our fourth orator is Kendrick Long. Mrs. Karen Long Otieno is his mother. He attends the Springfield Renaissance School. He is a sophomore. He is looking to attend Westfield State University, where we are hosting this event. He wants to major in criminal justice, political science, or journalism. He enjoys biking, student life, and being a student life activist. His mentor is James Lightfoot. Please join me in welcoming Kendrick to the stage.
How do I see myself? A struggling young man trying to make a change in a judgmental world. A world that uses media and power to shape our minds. A world that is too selfish to realize we all bleed the same, no matter the skin color. The reason why I bring all this up is because I personally know how it feels to be demoralized, to be discriminated and underestimated because of how I look and where I come from. Being irrelevant and opinionless because the media perceives people that may look like me to be uneducated, scary, and untamed. One thing the world didn't know was that I am a realistic dreamer. A realistic dreamer is someone who has the dreams for their life, but also has the goals and plans to see their dreams come true. Not only being a realistic dreamer, I'm a Christian, an extreme mountain biker, an activist, and an artist. Some of you may think I'm rambling, but this is all who I am, and it's important. I am African American, Irish, Jamaican, and Indian. These races and ethnicities are also a big part of my life. If I don't remember who I am and where I come from, what is pushing me forward? What am I trying to escape? I want to be able to see myself as anything if I didn't know who I am. I love helping people and getting everyone the same respect and opportunities we all do deserve, which would explain why I want to be in the law enforcement department. It doesn't matter anymore that the world doesn't think much of me, because I do. I know who I am. I know what I want. I know I am more than black. Sometimes I get upset because when people look at me, they don't see me for me. They see me how stereotypes describe people that may look like me It doesn't matter how I dress. The media takes the truth, exaggerates, and twists it to grab people's attention. If the media perceives people who aren't white-toned to be bad, dangerous, and uncontrollable, everyone will think the same. Think to yourself for a moment, how often do you hear African American men doing good in the news? Not a lot. It's not that us men aren't doing good deeds. It's the fact that social media lives to bring out the worst in people, including the worst in me. News anchors are literally paid higher wages to highlight the most drastic thing going on in life. They only care about what's going to attract the most attention. Black people are the only race that's constantly being judged negatively by the color of our skin. It's sad and hypocritical to declare a whole race as an issue. We are more than just a shade out of a color wheel. I am more than just black. I want to be recognized by my kind heart and accomplishments, not by stereotypes. I was only 14 years old when I was kicked out of a convenience store, not because of what I was wearing, but because I was black. I can't even walk to the store with my skin on, apparently. How convenient is that? I guess you learn something new every day. But that's the issue here. I want to be able to go to the store and not be accused and harassed of stealing because of what I look like. I want to be on the opposite side of police brutality. I'm tired of the systematic stereotypes. I'm tired of social media making criminals out of a whole race. I'm tired of being underestimated because of what I look like and where I come from. I'm a proud African American because I come from a culture and historical background that changed history. Because our people didn't take no for an answer. For example, we didn't take slavery, segregation laws, voting laws, the whole Jim Crow system for an issue. We stood up for what was right. We stood for equality. I stand here for equality. I live on this earth not only to serve God, but to make sure all races and all ethnicities are considered equal. All lives matter. We deserve the chance to go to college, the chance to be seen as equals. I'm willing to fight to make this change happen, so future generations in Springfield won't even recognize the term racism, but only in history books. If there is no struggle, there's no breakthrough. I'm willing to struggle to make sure that everyone's treated the same. That includes whites, Indians, Hispanics, and every other race, because at the end of the day, once again, we all bleed the same. You cannot judge a book by its cover. If you do, you may never realize the significance and value of it, just like a job interview, which many of you had. If the employer assumes that we don't look the part, they now have a biased assumption that we will be terrible workers. That's why I get up every day and be the best person I can be, changing the standards and stereotypes. Are you tired of police brutality? Then make a change to limit the power of cops, or grow up to be a cop so your children don't experience the same. That's what I'm doing. We as people need to stop making excuses for giving up. We are all tired of something. I'm tired of people challenging me at school. But guess what? I get up every day at 5 o'clock to go to that same place, all to reach my goals. I want to be able to walk down the street one day and see smiles and diversity, to be able to know that the violence rate in Springfield has gone down excessively. And all this starts the moment we realize ourselves as a realistic dreamer. Being able to realize that only you yourself can blockade yourself of achieving success. Yes, peer influences may mislead this, but it's still your decision to get back up. I do this every day. I rise above the challenges and duties of citizenship. Being able to help not just myself, but everyone around me. Standing against dehumanizing, standing up against unfairness. Seems history likes to repeat itself in one key factor: power and greed. Some people are so stuck up and neglectful they can't see themselves as equal to other people. Bystanders may even see me as an attention seeker, a clown putting on a show, yet I am not here to impress anybody. I, Kendrick Long, a realistic dreamer, am here to start my future, to make a name for myself, not the world. This is who I am. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Thank you for that message, Kendrick. Thank you. So in this segue, before our next speaker, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the Theta Iota Lambda Chapter, or the Springfield chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. There are two things that make it different than what I've talked about so far. I talked about when the fraternity was founded. It was founded on a college campus. But the Theta Iota Lambda Chapter, it's not associated with any college campus. It's actually what we call an alumni chapter. You can become a member of this fraternity outside of being initiated on a college campus or brought into it. The Theta Iota Lambda Chapter was established on April 23, 1963 in Springfield, Massachusetts. This effort was led by our brother, Frank Bunton, who was executive director of Mason Square Development Corporation at that time. Other charter members or brothers that helped establish this chapter were Cliff Flint, William Jones, Lee B. Rebels, Major Ernest Davis, Captain Charles Comer, and Captain Robert P. Smith. Two of our founding members are still with us today, that are Brother Frank Bunton and Brother Cliff Flint. And I know for each of those brothers, if they could, they would be here with us today. So we give our best wishes and recognition to them. And before I go further, I want to make sure that we extend best wishes and recognition to another one of our brothers, Bruce Cutting, who has been with the chapter for many, many years and is recovering and on his way, on his journey. But we want to make sure we acknowledge that we're thinking about you and we have you in our prayers, and we know that you would be here as well if you could today. Thank you for that recognition. Theta Iota Lambda Chapter has provided leadership and service in the greater Springfield area since its founding. So let me just do this, or give you this. If you walk into any room where something is happening, if you walk into any room where something needs to be done, if you walk into any room where leaders are gathered, you'll find an Alpha. If you walk into Martin Luther King Jr. Family Center, you'll find an Alpha leading that center. If you walk into churches, a variety of churches in the area, you'll find Alphas in those churches. If you walk into boardrooms, corporate and nonprofit, you'll find Alphas. Example of leadership today, but of course we can bring up Martin Luther King Jr., we could bring up Thurgood Marshall, and I could go on, leaders from the past, but we're carrying that legacy forward now. So programs of the fraternity that we do locally. Well, this program you're seeing today, the Oratorical contest, is one that we put on, and it's the end result of raising money during the year to provide scholarships, to encourage academic excellence. We also have a program both nationally and locally designed to get out the vote, to educate and register voters, because a voteless people is what we call a hopeless people. And we are not hopeless because we are not voteless, but we need more people registered to vote and exercising that right to vote. Let me pause here. Judges, are you complete? All right. Then I know you didn't come here to hear me, so I will stop. And I will go on to our next speaker. And our next speaker is speaker number 5, and there are a total of 6, so we are not done yet. The next speaker is Jarius Edward Hayes. His mother is Gwendolyn Hayes, and Jarius attends the High School of Science and Technology, where he is a senior. He has aspirations to attend Morehouse College, where he hopes to major in music and business. His hobbies include, don't get him started, Kung Fu. All right. And his mentor is Khalif Nunnally. Please join me in welcoming Jarius to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, I think I'm looking pretty good. You know, the Lord made me fearfully and wonderfully made. I know y'all probably see me different, but by the end of this speech, I think we're all going to be on the same page. You see, there are 7 billion people on the earth. From them and the people I know, how do I see myself and how do they see me? My peers see me as a leader, an enthusiastic person, and someone that's very influential. But I see the failures and flaws that got me there. Truth is, I'm not better than anybody else. I have my stresses too. I'm trying to go to Morehouse. My grandmother who raised me has a medical condition that requires me to help her. I'm currently looking for a job, learning how to drive, and I even got a girlfriend. And I think I might be in love for the first time. I achieved because I wanted to, and I didn't do it alone. I opened up to others, heard their stories, and expanded them upon my own life. A lot of people don't achieve because they do not see their own potential. So they give up on their dreams and their aspirations. I see myself as a child of God who did not become a product of his environment. Being a black male, society has viewed me as a threat, an inconvenience, especially because I grew up in Springfield. Society sees me as a man waiting for the jail cell, but they did not see what I saw. I saw a man bound for greatness and success. Amen, hallelujah, yes. It may have been a struggle to get where I am today, but I see myself as a successor to all those that have come before me. I am bound for greatness and won't let anyone tell me different. I'm Jarius Hayes. Yes, I'm black and I'm proud. Wakanda forever. There was a time when people that knew me would view me as a distraction because my focus problem would disrupt the class. They saw me as a man of anger that had to learn to control his emotions. They did not see the diamond in the rough. If it wasn't for the good influence of others in my life, like first and foremost, God, praise God, amen, my Uncle Jerry, my church family, and my grandmother, I want to see myself as I do today. People have played a pivotal role in developing my character, which helped change people's perceptions of me. It's the very same reason why they say it takes a village to raise a child. So I raise a question, who's in your village? I have had many good examples of ordinary people who have done small things that have impacted my life in big ways. Teachers, I remember, like Mr. Barif, he never gave up on me in math. He wasn't just a teacher, but a good man. Mr. Broderick always looked out for me. Guidance counselors like Miss McDonald and Dr. Boyles. I owe my acceptance to Morehouse to many, but these were just a few people I would like to recognize. Give them a round of applause. And if I didn't call your name, reach out your arms like this and bring them back to you. And that's for me. Because villages can change your whole perspective, which ultimately changes your character. Be careful who you allow into your circle and how they see you, because it does affect how you see yourself. I see myself as someone who discerned who I wanted to be and who I allowed into my circle. And now currently I see myself as an overcomer, but I still have issues that I must overcome. As Dr. Martin Luther King sung on the March on Washington, we shall overcome. But the question is, can you overcome yourself? You're the ultimate one who can raise your future or let it fall to the dust. Don't be scared of failure, because it is the first stepping stone for success. Others can give up on you, but if you never give up on yourself, all the mountains you will climb. So how do you see yourself? And if you're in the right, does it matter how others see you? I know I had to learn that it's not always on others to shape me, though they have an influence on my life. But it takes your mentality, the way you operate, and exercise self-viewing by your actions. Have I done something wrong? How can I change this? How can I make myself better? What's my drive? What's my focus? I'm still learning life, and as I get older, I know the more I change my view, your view, and society's view will change of me also. So I guarantee you this, I'll make it a good one. Thank you all for coming out. I've been Jarius Hayes, and I'm signing off.
Thank you, Jarius. Thank you for that message and for not giving up. Thank you. So I'm going to share with you a wish, because I can't get away from this wish after listening to all of these speeches so far today and seeing these young men that we have here today. I wish that when I turned on MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, HLN, I don't watch Fox, but okay, that I would see these young men, that I would hear about these stories, that I would see these possibilities and these aspirations laid out to balance everything else. So thank you. And I will tell everyone that's here is that there's a nice camera at the back of the room that's recording all of this, and it will be able to be viewed, it will be able to be understood, it will be able to be, if you will, absorbed by folks who couldn't be in this room with us today. So thank you for making that possible. And official acknowledgments will be coming later in the program. So what I want to do, there is one other thing I want to do. Someone noticed this in the program, someone noticed this in the photos that they saw, that there is one young man who went through the process, who did the mentoring, who created a speech, who we thought would be here today, but could not be here today. And I just want to take a moment to have us recognize Jalen Cade and give him the respect for the journey that he was able to make. And while I'm waiting for the judges to complete, let me go through just a couple of more programs that are done locally in alignment with the national program of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Project Alpha. We want leaders. We want citizens. We want young men to be citizens in the community that are positive and contributing. So we have a program called Project Alpha that we do in conjunction with the March of Dimes. And Project Alpha is about getting young men as old as, well, I used to be their age, so, right. But taking these young men and putting them in a situation with adults and skilled individuals where we can talk about those things they're going to meet outside in the real world. If you will, even for my own kids, when you leave home, there's what I told you you should do, and then there's what you do. There's where I told you you should stay away from, and then there's where either you go or you end up at. And so we get these young men, and we want to give them an opportunity to learn how to deal with and how to engage, if you will, in the world, how to deal with items and inventories around sex and diseases and how to avoid that, but how to engage with young women in a way that's going to be positive for both them and the young woman that's involved. So we call that Project Alpha. Another program that we do that's consistent with our national alignment is to, every year what we do, we have Herbert Laval Smith I met Herbert Laval Smith in college. When I pledged Alpha, he was already an Alpha. Herbert Laval Smith passed away several years ago, but in honor of both the person that he was and the brother that he was, we took something that we do annually, which is to go to the communities in partnership with Martin Luther King Jr. Family Services and other supportive people in the community to make sure that on Thanksgiving, instead of just sitting at our table with our families, enjoying the bounty that has occurred because of the blessings bestowed upon us and the journey we were able to take primarily because of someone else, that we take time to make sure that other people in the community don't receive a handout, but they understand that we're doing this because you stand out to us, because we recognize that this is something worth doing and you are worthy of it. So the H. Laval Smith Thanksgiving Baskets is something that we also do annually. And the last thing I'll mention before I go to introducing our next speaker, I am so proud to be part of a fraternity, part of an organization that led the effort to get the monument to Martin Luther King Jr. in Washington, D.C., paid for, established, and there for everyone to enjoy and to remember his legacy forever. And with that, let me go and introduce our last speaker. Last but not least is Christian Kelly. Parent, Miss Michelle Kelly. Christian attends SABIS International School where he is a senior. He'd like to attend the University of Massachusetts at Amherst or Roger Williams College, where he'd like to major in computer science. He likes wrestling. Wrestling and Kung Fu. This isn't about that competition. This oratorical. Soccer, theater, and dance. And Christian's mentor is Mr. Eddie Lee, Brother Eddie Lee. So please join me in welcoming Christian to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Christian Kelly, and I am a young black man thriving in America. At this moment, I would like to personally thank the men of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity for allowing me and other men of color the opportunity to speak our truth and further our education. Thank you, men. How I see myself and how the world sees me. As I stand before you all, I am greatly humbled. This is a full circle moment for me. I am reminded of the life lessons my mother, Michelle Kelly, taught me throughout the years. I was taught to not judge others, even if you think you have the whole story. My mother always said, respect yourself, and others will respect you too. And she always told me to call my loved ones because you never know when's the last time you'll hear them. With the recent tragic killing of the great black leader, Nipsey Hussle, I think we can all attest to that. Growing up, whenever I will allow other people's opinions take a negative impact on me, on my self-esteem, my mother was always right there to comfort me and remind me to not let others define me. You are the one that creates your identity. She would say, and she was right. Identity is what makes an individual who they are and is what sets them apart in society. How I see myself, how the world sees me, I am a first-gen child. To them, I'm just another black kid. My mother, a proud Jamaican woman, is the reason I do not look outside. I don't look to outside sources when piecing together my identity. I believe that life is a puzzle, and the pieces that I go and find are going to help us see the bigger picture, our purpose. I fear that too many people turn to the outside sources, like social media, for an example, for false validation. It is my belief that this is one of the most self-destructive paths a person can take, especially when they are dealing with a young man or women of color. The media uses their controlling images to continue the false narrative that Black and Latino men are more prone to violence, more likely to be involved with drugs, are uneducated, or lacking a possibility to achieve success within their lives. It is because of this that media single-handedly plays a huge role in the lives of so many people who look at the confinement rate of Black and Latino men and believe that this is to be justified. Social media has managed to condition so many people into believing that someone's skin color does matter because it shows their limited potential. I know who I am, and I know that my skin color does not stop me. I enjoy social media as much as the next person, but I will not allow any racially charged headlines to define me or upset me. I simply choose not to resonate with it. I just wish I did not have to make that choice so often. Almost every time I get on the internet, I can find several outlets trying to assassinate my character. It can be hard to ignore all the times when you walk around with my skin complexion and constantly have to deal with microaggressions on a daily. How I see myself and how the world sees me. As stated before, I am a wrestler. but most people would just judge me by my appearance and think I'm good at basketball. I can remember when I first joined my school's wrestling team in the 9th grade, and I took notice of the lack of African American and Latino representation in the sport. I also took notice of the jokes other players would make fun of me just because I'm not playing basketball. Then I realized that my school is one of the 3 other schools that have black and brown wrestlers. Instead of being discouraged by the lack of black representation in wrestling and allowing myself to feel like I did not belong there, I let it fuel my passion for the sport even more. This year, I won tournaments and I beat other high-quality wrestlers that people thought I wouldn't be able to do just because I'm black. It felt good being able to step on that podium. Each tournament and being the black male representation for myself and for others, I stepped on this year's Western Mass Wrestling podium, being the only high schooler of color, making a statement that this sport is not only for white males. It is a representation I was a representation on media for black kids to do not have to inspire to play basketball or run for track and field as their side sport. Because it was what is always being fed to us. As much as I love wrestling, I do not have any plans on going pro. I plan on majoring on computer science and becoming a computer engineer, another thing that people don't expect. I have always been fascinated with technology, and I'm good at it. Being a computer engineer will allow me to be able to give back to my mom and also to my community. Serving as an example to other young men of color who might not know anyone who went to college, that with faith, hard work, and self-love and confidence, they too can achieve that. At my church, I stand as an example for those who want to take their faith further into Christianity. I help evangelize and spread the gospel. I try my hardest to do the right thing, which most people believe black people don't do. Giving to my community is the most important thing. So I would love it if you let me finish with this verse. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born. I set you apart, and I appoint you as a prophet to the nations. Jeremiah 1, verse 5. My name is Christian Kelly, and I am the son of Michelle Kelly. And all that I need to know about who I am has been planned for me from the very beginning. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon again. I am Vince Jackson, and I have the pleasure of serving as the president of the Lee B. Revels Scholarship and Mentoring Foundation, which is the nonprofit arm of Theta Iota Lambda Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. And you saw this video. I have to say that it just gives me great joy, and it's so reaffirming the work that we do. And it's also a pleasure to take young men like the ones you heard this afternoon, send them off to college. They get involved in the fraternity, and they grow and develop as leaders, and they come back as mentors, moving from being a mentee and into this brotherhood, and as their way of paying it all forward. So I can't say what a pleasure it is enough about how I am so excited about the work that we're doing. But it takes a collective all. And we're going to ask you to open your hearts and open your wallets, because one of the ways that we put together this awesome event is through a very strong grassroots campaign. Now, we've got great sponsors and partners, and I'll talk about them later, but you are the supporters that make it all happen. So we hope that you will indulge us this afternoon and oblige us with a goodwill offering. And we have two brothers in the back who will be making their way forward with baskets, and no amount is too small. So we encourage gifts of any size, because they all join in, and it's a collective all effort. So we really appreciate it. So as the baskets come, I will just continue to talk, and let you know other ways that you can support. If you may have forgotten your credit card or your cash, and you may not have cash, go to springfieldalphas.com. And there you will find not only information about this event, but all the programs that we provide for youth development and mentoring that helps us to advance the mission forward. And there are multiple ways to contribute. You can simply use your credit card. It's very secure, quick and easy online. And we never share your information. So your information is secure, and we will only use it to reach out to you to provide you with information about what we're doing in the community. Another way to support us is that if you are among the technologically advanced crew, you can use the Cash App to make your contribution. That's $Springfield Alphas. That's the Cash App sign. So we encourage you to take advantage of these opportunities. And let me just share with you that since our first competition in 2009, we have awarded 30 young men well over $45,000 in scholarships. Thank you. Thank you so much. And because we have other scholarship competitions and other educational programs, we've awarded young men of color an additional $50,000 in support. So almost $90,000 in just the last 20 years alone. So thank you so much. And as a couple of the speakers pointed out, it truly takes a village, and we could not do what we do without your support. And today I just want to take a moment to use this privilege to thank two sponsors. One is Westfield State University. So Erica Broman, who's one of our judges, Brother Ime, and all the staff and all the wonderful people who have worked with us this afternoon to pull this off. We thank you so much. And they are so generous in their philanthropy and support of this program that the Office of Institutional Advancement has offered for any of the young men who are winners and decide to attend Westfield State an additional $1,000 scholarship. So there you have it. We thank you so much for that. And also, I just want to take another moment of personal privilege for bringing in a new sponsor who shares the vision of a strong Black community of young men of color who are just getting all kinds of incredible recognition for the great work that you're doing. And that is the members of Beta Sigma Boule of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity. Thank you for your sponsorship. Two of our judges are members. So would all the members affiliated with Beta Sigma Boule please stand? Because they join us in this vision for young men of color who are finding educational pathways to college. So we thank you for your sponsorship and support. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to next up, who's going to present the awards. And while they come forward, let me also just give a round of applause and thanks to the judges this afternoon. You had double duty. One was to just listen as the rest of us did, but also the hardest part, and that was to just judge this competition. So we just can't thank you enough for your support and for giving us your Saturday afternoon to support these young men. So thank you so much.
You ready? All right. So as I said, we've had a couple of anomalies this evening. The first is second place and third place, difference of 2 points. The second anomaly is we have 2 third place winners. And we have had a conversation in the back. And each one of them will receive the full third place prize. So with a score of 478, third place goes to Christian Kelly. Kristen Kelly, Mr. Kelly. We're gonna we're going to work out another trophy for him as well. Okay. And our second third place winner is Mr. Kendrick Long. Mr. Long? So yeah, we're going to take a picture and then we'll work it out afterwards. And as I said before, they will both receive a trophy and they will both receive the full third place prize. Second place with a score of 480, Jarvis Hayes or Jarius Hayes. Jarius. You a little nervous now? A little nervous? Okay. You guys a little nervous? Okay, just checking. All righty. First place with a score of, now let me also add. These were some of the toughest judges I have ever tabulated for. These judges were tough. All right, with that being said, with a score of 559 points, the Djongo-Alan Tchatchouang. Oh, really?
So I understand that I'm the only thing in between you and the food that we have. So I'll keep it very, very brief in saying that every year I tell myself, like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm sick of this. I'm not going to do it. But I'm going to do it again and again and again. And this was a very worthwhile experience. But just a couple of thank yous. We missed a couple of people. I just wanted to, even though I was chair of this event, I really wasn't chair. I was co-chair, and Brother Ima, I couldn't have done it without him. I mean, the artistic feel of this was because of him. Like the singers, and you see the posters, and like the whole ambiance was because of him. And he was the one that would call me at 6:45 every morning and say, "Hey, brother, I have this idea." And I'm thinking, like, I just need to eat first right now. But I thank you so much. You're my right-hand man. I really appreciate all that you've done. And then for the rest of the committee, like, we pulled it together. We did it. We're done. We get to rest for 7 more months, and then we'll have those Thursday night calls again. And there's one other person, and she, even though she doesn't know it, even though I just said her name, but Dean Emily Todd, I was wondering if you could just come forward, please. So for the past 4 years, we've been trying to hustle to get this event on a college campus, obviously because we want our young men exposed to college very early on so that it's not a fear or anything that's different for them when they decide to apply and attend. And we've tried to get other colleges in the Springfield area to host us. And some of them were willing to host us, but it was going to come at a great cost. And because we're a nonprofit and we don't have that type of money, it couldn't be done. But when we approached, Brother Iman and I approached Dean Todd, she welcomed us with open arms. She made sure that we had everything we needed. She's been a champion from the first day, that cold day in November that we stepped on campus. So Dean Todd, we have some flowers for you and like to say thank you. That's it for me. We're gonna take pictures so you can, for the parents, thank you for everything. Thank you for your jeans. You did a great job. We appreciate it. And we'll be back here next year. So let's take some pictures. And then we have a great reception down the hall. So we're gonna feed you, and then you'll leave out of here hungry. Yeah, all the way down the hall. All right.